Update 2 on Tropical Storm Arthur, currently located to the east of Florida with wind speeds of 60 miles per hour and a pressure of 998 millibars. Its position is 28.8 degrees north, 79.0 degrees west as of 3 p.m. UTC on July the 3rd. That would be 10 a.m. Eastern Time. The storm's expected to move towards the north and then the northeast, likely to become a Category 1 hurricane as it brushes the outer banks of North Carolina and move off to the northeast, where it will possibly make a final landfall in Nova Scotia as a borderline hurricane or extratropical storm. Until then, all points along the east coast should be monitoring the progress of this system, just in case it does shift a little bit more towards the west, which isn't likely at the moment, but just in case, that would obviously lead to more warnings and rainfall and of course effects from the storm. Strong winds gusting beyond hurricane force. So tropical storm watches are currently in effect for Sebastian Inlet to Flagler Beach in Florida. Tropical storm watches also for South Sante River, South Carolina to Bogue Inlet, North Carolina. Hurricane watch for Bogue Inlet to Oregon Inlet in North Carolina, and again a tropical storm watch for Oregon Inlet to the North Carolina Virginia border. And indeed for offshore waters we have hurricane warnings in effect as well. Sea surface temperatures remaining fairly warm for the storm's passage, at least until it gets as far as North Carolina and Virginia, where the sea surface temperatures will drop off a bit of a cliff after that. But until then, 26 to 28 degrees Celsius waters, aided by the Gulf Stream. Looking at the current wind shear map, you can see the storm indicated by the tropical storm icon in a fairly light shear area, a pocket of light shear I suppose you could say, and a swathe of that moving up towards pretty much its whole track, to be honest, except for near the coast of North Carolina where there's a bit higher amounts of shear there. But until it reaches that point, it's looking fairly favourable for further intensification as we've been seeing in the past 24 hours or so. Water vapor imagery, you can see all of Arthur's influence there, extending almost as far south as the southern Bahamas, but the centre of the storm there is quite clear. The western side is a little less wet, the eastern side is where most of the action's going on, and a little bit of drier air towards the north of the storm, but not too inhibiting, I shouldn't think. Looking at the intensity forecasts, you can see the DSHP is still the most aggressive, taking it to a Category 2 storm. All the other main ones there take it to a Category 1 hurricane for an extended period of 24 hours or more. The track forecasts, again, very close-knit until we get as far as Nova Scotia. 3 of them there, both taking it very close to the coast of North Carolina. Of course, the blue line there taking it overland. And the shear comparisons expected to rise significantly towards days 3 to 4, until then remaining fairly low. So the next 3 days the storm really has to take advantage if it's going to intensify. As is the case with sea surface temperatures, where it's going to drop off a cliff quite literally in the next few days on July the 4th into the 5th. Humidity is remaining fairly moderate as well over the next few days. A few peaks and troughs, but in general remaining fairly moderate. GFS is probably the worst case scenario, where it dips a little bit towards the end. Satellite imagery. As I pointed out, the western side of the storm is not as impressive as the eastern side. That's where most of the flare-up is going on in relation to the storm on the right-hand side there. So that's good news for the coast of Florida, where we're not seeing actually that much action if you look at the satellite imagery. Big flare-up on the Gulf of Mexico side, by the way. And you can see, of course, the direction of the storm is fairly clear now. It's evident that it's moving towards the north, or perhaps a very slight tinge of north-northwestward movement, but a landfall in Florida, Georgia or South Carolina is exceedingly unlikely, though of course they could all receive some effects from the storm. But as I say, the eastern side is the most potent at the moment, and Bahamas is still getting hit by some of that. Looking at the world tropics, we have Tropical Storm Douglas, of course, weakening and likely to turn into a tropical depression soon. Elida is no longer with us, and of course we have Arthur and 2 invests in the Western Pacific, 90W and 91W, both located over that side. 34 tropical storms have formed so far this year. 12 of those have become Category 1 hurricanes of 74 miles per hour or higher, 7 of which becoming Category 3 storms, 115 miles per hour plus. So 34 so far, approaching the halfway mark in regards to getting up to 25th, which is where 2010 is, which had 78 storms. More on that in other videos. Force 13's outlets, 6 of them. You can visit the website, which is the main place to go, force13.com, for all the latest updates. The video pages, YouTube and Dailymotion, just search Force 13 on either of those. You're probably on one of those right now. And the social pages will also be keeping you up to date, Facebook and Twitter. Search Force 13 at Force 13 on Twitter. And to speak to me personally for Tropical Weather Chat, just at Fool13 on Skype. The next update on this storm will be following in 12 hours. That will be 2 AM UTC on Thursday, July the 3rd.